Hi, this is Hien, and this is part two of my story on how I found cryptocurrency. So, just to summarize, we kind of talked about how I had to go to work to at Burger Bullets, and every time I went to work and saying goodbye to my daughter, it was just hard because she was always be like, "Daddy," and like, "No," and she'd be like, "No," or something like as I had to push her away kind of thing, and she just cried even more. And every day that would happen, every time I go to work, and and it just made me think like I need to figure this out. Why am I having so much money problems? So, anyways, I kind of stumbled upon e-commerce at the time, so we were launching T-shirts and stuff like that. We built a team overseas in the Philippines, and it was just like a chop shop where it was a researcher, a designer, and a uploader, and an ad person. I was running through. We were like pumping out like 50 shirts a week, and I tried to do this on my own, and I was only doing like maybe like one or two a week or whatever. And in the groups are like, oh, so how come it's not working? Like, how much you launch? Like, two. Like, this is a scam. It's not working. That's what people would say, right? They're like, well, you haven't launched enough. You haven't failed enough. And I'm like, well, dude, it took me forever just to get these two going. I have to design it myself, upload it myself. But what I've learned was that I got a coach to kind of put this together, and it was really just more of a numbers game. There was no, it wasn't about me and my ability. It was all about putting a team together and putting the experts to do it consistently over and over again. And in about 50 shirts, we kind of broke through and it's made over $30,000 just on one T-shirt name, a line T-shirt theme, I guess, and we scaled it out to different things, or different niches in a sense, or different, scaled it out and scaled it up, kind of thing. And that just sold over and over and over and over. And that paid for all of the losses of the other designs that failed, and also paid for the coaching that I got. And it just gave me like, huh, there has to be a team behind this that would definitely help. So, anyways, we did that for a while, but then it was still kind of the same thing. If you stop launching, and then you stop sending ads, because every time the T-shirt died out, in a sense, because everyone saw your ad so many times, you kind of back to researching again and launching another 50 shirts to try to find another winner. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but there's just still a ton of effort put into it just to dig out this one winner, in a sense. And yeah, eventually, like, all the profits I made kind of just went back in. It's just kind of no different than donor shop. The more I worked and the more we scaled, the more the expenses were, the more the ad money was, and then at the end of the day, I'd still find new customers constantly every time. And so I had to kind of turn to like subscriptions, and kind of read about that. I was just kind of out there. I was like, how do you do this stuff? And it's just weird. Anyways, that so then I kind of stopped launching it for a while, and we kind of got into rings, which now I kind of, we kind of just push it off Amazon now. So whatever Amazon brings in, it kind of pays for things. It's kind of like the bread and butter kind of thing. So we were doing that for a while, and then I was like, all right, cool. Well, the subscription is where we want to go. How do we do this? And also like, uh, that was kind of part of there, and I didn't know how to do subscription yet. So, but we're just still having money problems. So outside of that, I kind of stopped working for Burger Brothers for a while. I worked for them for about a year and a half while I was doing e-commerce, and after that, I started doing SEO for this guy that down in Santa Anita. It was like a 1.5 hour drive. It was horrible. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to beat traffic, get there at 5, sleep in the hallway until they open the door in the office. It was, yeah. And then, well, in between there, I'll kind of like start building my e-com business and trying to set up my store and launch more ads and work with a team overseas. And after that, after work 8 hours, I would then stay at Starbucks to wait for another an hour and a half to wait for traffic to pass. So then I'll work there at Starbucks for an hour and a half, and then drive home 8 at night, 8 to 9 o'clock at night. Come home, get a meal, maybe shower real quick, 2 hours to myself, and say hi to the family, and then sleep again, do it all over again. And that happened for about 3 months, and it just didn't work out after that. And then I was like, finally, I was like, just let me go. The best thing you do for me is let me go. And that was actually really a happy time for me too, because they're like, yes, so fine. There was some conflict. I'll go into it. So, anyways, I started just going back to the store and kind of getting that back up and running. And then we started doing some Ubering, and I was like, you know what? No matter where I launched, it came from China, and we dropped shipping stuff. The quality was bad, and returns, and it was just like no different than anything else that anyone else did. Everyone was just selling the same junk, kind of thing, and I didn't want that. I was like, you can't really build a brand off this, and you can't really like stand behind it. And I really didn't believe in what I was selling. It was just like, hey, it's just sold, like, hey. So anyways, so I started Ubering, doing some Lyft, driving for a while. Long hours too on those. Tough days. Some days it's just like work till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, just driving all day, chugging coffee. Plenty of stories, plenty of Uber, Lyft stories. That was probably the best thing about that, is that you get a lot of drunk people. And I've actually done a drug deal on an Uber. Someone wanted to come in, and it's like, hey, no GPS, just go here, go there. You're like, oh, okay, That's for another story. So, anyways, during the downtime, I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm still making peanuts off Uber and Lyft. What is money? Like, why am I having so many problems on it? So, I was watching YouTube, different people and different professionals online, and like, hey, what are they doing? What are they doing? And then I was like, all right, you know what is money? So I typed that in, what is money? And then I found Mike Maloney, Hidden Secrets of Money, and then Fractional Reserve Banking, which I'll link below also. And I think everyone should watch those 2 videos. Mike Malone has now 10 series as of this video, and it kind of goes over the history of money, from what it came from, why we print dollars instead of use the old money of gold and silver, kind of thing, and how our government kind of just inflates it, where it's now backed by nothing. And I was like, wait a minute. So I think I'm starting to put this picture together. But anyways, I first watched Fractional Reserve Banking, and that was about how you put $1 in the bank, and then that bank can then create $10 and loan that $10 as it was their money, create out of thin air, and collect interest on the $10, but they don't have $1 in the bank. And then the next person that takes that $10 and put that $10 in another bank, that bank can now create $100 off that $10 in the bank. And yeah, so they basically loan more than what they actually have, creating more and more currency out of nothing. And so what that did was then increase causes inflation. Everything goes up in price, like real estate, because that's what they loan on. And it makes it hard for everyone else to try to get into that real estate unless they play their mortgage game. And as soon as they get in the mortgage, they kind of become indebted into that 30-year mortgage. And the first half of that is all interest. And you think it's... And then anyways, and then you're like, okay, so going back, you work more to get taxed more. So then you can then qualify for a loan. You get the mortgage, which then is inflated. You pay interest on that. You get a tax deduction, I guess. But the first half of that mortgage is all interest. You're paying 2 times the house, actually. And then, on top of that, they raise the tax and gas prices goes up too, as you commute to work. So that kind of diminishes your income on what you're making. Right? So you earn more, you make more, but then you commute more, on top of that. And then on top of that, you're like, oh, you know what, I'm not making it. So emergencies happen. There's a credit card for that too. Swipe the credit card, 30% interest rates. Try to pay that off. And then on top of that, you're like, okay, cool. But then everything else is going up in price. Movie tickets, restaurant, groceries, whatever. and you kind of see how it starts to stack against you, and you're like, you know what, I'm just here to like work hard and maybe build something, but you can see that all of this stuff starts to chew into your income, and you're like, why should I even work? You know, why should you even trade your time for money? So after watching those two videos, I realized that, you know, we used to be scared of money, like as far as like, you know, we don't want to, we're afraid to lose it, you know, so we're afraid to invest it, we're afraid to build a business, we're afraid to, you know, go into a venture and like do something with it, or but at the end of the day, once you realize that it's all made up and it's all funny money anyway, you're like, it's just a number. And at the end of the day, no matter what you lose, it all somehow comes back to you, like either through, I don't know, you can call it government programs, like say, I don't know, I'm sure there's a government program for everything. And then it kind of moves everything towards socialism, you know? So that's how I kind of realized that. And then that's where, cryptocurrencies came in. And I actually found Bitcoin back when I started doing the real estate flipping back in, actually maybe 2 years afterwards. I think it was around $1,000 and it crashed down to 150. So I actually had about 5,000 left. Like I was gonna like put 5 to 10,000 because I did pretty well in ecom that first year, and I had 5 to 10,000 dollars sitting around, and I was gonna throw it on Bitcoin, $150, and just like, hey, let's go. But I didn't. I didn't buy any at all. I ended up spending it on some kind of incorporation service and tax, whatever, tax advice instead. But so yeah, and then I didn't get back into it till when it was started to. I think I bought two around like $200-300, and then went up to 1,000. I sold both of those for profit, and it just kept going. I was like, oh, what's going on? So I jumped back in, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Oh, what's going on here? Let's get going. So I started, using that, buying groceries. And eventually, I was able to, after we get about $8,000 on Bitcoin, I was like, this is getting crazy. The transaction fees are high. You can't even move stuff. I'm getting out, So I got out of that and started getting to EOS, arbitraging EOS. And I was able to use that to then pay off my credit card debt. It was 15,000, pay that off, and then we're actually finally debt free. And I was like, wow, like this is powerful. I really don't like trading because I remember 2008 when the market crashed. I lost half my stuff and I pulled out, and I didn't know what to do. Like, dude, what do you do? Like, it's tanking. I didn't know anything about trading or stocks or whatever, and I was like, I told myself it's so powerful. Even though I don't like it, I need to learn it. There's something about it that helps you build wealth in a sense, and so yeah, that's kind of how I learned about cryptocurrency. It was because of knowing what money is, and then finding that where it was just bull running up to 20K. I was just like, wow, that's crazy, um, and there's time where I was trading manually. I think it was on Dentacoin or something like that. I got into it where it was really low and it pumped up. I was like, you know what, let me just get in. It pumped up again, and there's one time I was gonna put set it up for my orders, and I actually hit a market order on accident. It was like fat fingers. I threw 5,000 at a Dentacoin, and we just pumped it real quick. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? So I pumped out. Everyone's like, oh man, this was like the second pump in the day, and they're like, man, Dentacoin, would you go to bed? And the third pump, which I caused, kept up, and everyone else started jumping back in again. And I was like, oh, forget this. I'm gonna set my limit order. It sold. I closed it out, and it pumped back down, and I bought it back in again, and I just pumped back up, and then I sold it again, and I made like $800 within like 30 minutes. It was just like, it was like such an intense feeling, and I had to go get like a bakery boba or something afterwards and took the family out. But I was like, wow, but that never happened again. It was just like that one time that happened. But then after I got into EOS, I was arbitraging it because it wasn't fully, it was still in the ICO phase, so I was just buying it at the ICO, flipping on the exchange, buying the ICO, flipping exchange. So that's kind of how I kind of found some of the people who found me on arbitraging, and I knew that eventually one day it's gonna end when EOS is then released. So I was like, hey, you know what? If that's that, I think the next thing is to do TradeBot, to build an asset, to program something that will trade for me. And I knew nothing about trading, so I was like, hey, you know what? Why not if I find a tool that can trade for me? and kind of like it's kind of like this, everything that the trade bot, the pros know about trading, it's all built into that bot, right? So let me just buy it and just let it go, right? And do it. So I bought it, and then there's just some settings that you have to kind of adjust, and then I was like looking at these things, like where do I start? And I put some random settings, back tested it, -100%, back to -50, -5, whatever. It was just horrible, and I was like, dude, how do I know how to tune this thing? It was just like, what are you using to start? And I was like, hey, I remember that this kind of looked like trajectory, where it's just like you didn't know where to start too, where you just kind of guess a bunch of random numbers and hopefully you get something, and then you got to move the numbers back and forth in order to find a result. If you move this, change it positive direction and back test it positively, then keep going, right, until it stops, and then you kind of like zero in somewhere. So I was like, wouldn't it be great if I could build a tool that, well, without building what I've learned in trajectory analysis and put into the tuner, right? So that's kind of where that came from, and that's how I started to create the Autotuner to then help free me from the day to day of tuning the bots on a regular basis. Okay, so that it does it automatically for me. Okay, so that's what I did, and it's been doing well. This is like my fourth time writing it. The first time it was junky. It had no UI, and then I started to build a UI. But then I had to rewrite the thing because I was still learning and picking it up. And then about the third time, it looked nice, but it kind of ran into some issues. I didn't know how to trade myself manually, and I was putting stop losses too tight. So as soon as it got in, it got stopped out, and that really affected the performance of the portfolio. And I really didn't want to, like, I was like, hey, this is what I did. Create tune is good. But now I'm like, after, I was like, what, I need to manually trade to understand what was going on. So when I manually traded on BitMEX, I realized how the volatility of it, as soon as you get in and you put your buy order, as soon as it gets in, it has to push you to a negative in order to fill your order, and then rise back up. If I put a 1% stop, as soon as I get filled, I'm going to stop myself out. It's just, there's no point, right? And you can't fill right at the bottom. It's just, who knows where the bottom is. So you kind of fill where you got to fill, and you kind of have to take a loss and, bite, hold your nerves while it starts to rise back up. And so that's what I realized when I was manually trading, and that the flaw that I had in my previous versions, where I just stopped it too tight with trailing stop losses that are way too tight. And especially for the volatility too, where it'll just kind of, maybe it'll come back up and it'll just kind of stop you out and then take off without you. So the mindset is to now trade with the intention to win, not trade with the intention to not lose. When you put all those stops to not lose, it'll always hit you and get you out. It's just so weird the way the market works. It's just, it feeds off everyone's emotions. It flicks you out when you don't want to be flicked out. And you gotta have the mindset to win, and only set up solutions for it to always win. Okay, so now it's very simplified. It's a lot easier now on the API version for the fourth time, and you can tune it a lot faster now because the local API was not available when I wrote the first three versions of it. And then right in the fourth one, I was like, oh man, the first three took me about 6 months to write. I don't know if I want to go through the 6 months again to write the fourth version. But I kind of bit my tongue and just bit the bullet, I guess they call it, and just did it anyway. And it turns out that I was able to do it faster than before. It took me about a few months to do it, but because in the end the code was a lot cleaner, and after 3 times of writing it, I knew how to kind of clean it up. We use the code a lot more, and actually, applying what I've learned manually trading and what I've done before to kind of just keep it simple. I know that before there was too many settings, people had a hard learning curve getting it set up. It was complicated. Now you just put your local API, your secret key, load up the bots, click the one you want to tune, and you're off and running. You're off to the races. That's it. Okay. You don't have to set up all this stuff, weird stuff. Okay. All right, so that's where we are today. So I hope now to then, after trading and knowing how to use the bot successfully, I was able to pay off $15,000 worth of credit card debt. I was able to earn about at the high, 80,000 in the EOS or crypto portfolio, and then of course midway through it, you know where it's at kind of thing. So based off that, I wanted to I remember the time when I had to push my daughter away, and and I understand that nowadays like divorce is a pandemic, and people get into a lot of money fights, and just like my parents did, they went to a lot of money fights, and then divorce is a pandemic because of that. And I'm kind of hoping that if I can help one family, stay home, or parents stay home with their kids, to be able to instill values to them, be there for them, help them grow, that they'll grow up with parents and also be able to be raised up properly, not in a broken family, but in a loving family that's well educated, where the kid doesn't have to figure things out on their own. I have to figure things out on my own too, like how do I date girls and stuff like that, and where do I go for this? How do I do business? No one taught me any of that stuff. I wish my dad was there to teach me that, but he was just busy working, trying to provide. So I was hoping that if I can help a family do that, it'll be worth it for me to open up myself and share the tune with all you guys. I know there are some people out there who are naysayers, like, hey, you have this great tool, why don't you keep it to yourself? I was like, yeah, I'll keep it for myself from you if that's the way you think too, right? And I know that you would probably, if he created it and thought that way, he would probably keep it himself, right? So I'll keep it from you too, okay? So, but for those who want to better their lives and be able to provide for their families and be there for them, um, and say goodbye to their 9 to 5, and transition to full time trading, I want to be that for you guys, and do that. And I want to also build like this wolf pack where you can help other families if they can't afford the tuner to help tune for their portfolio, and to a point where they can afford it, and then they can move up in line and then kind of pay it forward to the next family kind of thing. Okay, so we just kind of set up a Discord group that kind of allows you to do that, and it's just kind of, it's all about helping families. So that's why it's called protecting families by protecting the pack. Okay. All right. Let me see if I have anything else here that I've missed in my story. So yeah. So I think after this, it's definitely about families and getting off the dollar as much as possible. Getting to prepping, learning how to grow your own food, pay off your house, move to a lower inflated city or rural area, and just not play in this dollar realm anymore, where it's just you're kind of set up to lose. So that's just my take on it. Hope you guys understand and resonate. If you guys do want to follow what I've been doing, definitely follow my Discord, pick up the tuner, help other families do the same. We're moving to Texas in June, and then I might create another channel on gardening, hydroponics, growing your own food. There's all kinds of cool stuff that I've been learning on gardening, back to Eden gardening kind of thing. We grow very little water and very little work. Growing things God's way, right? He doesn't have sprinklers, going all the time. It's all done naturally. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you then.